Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about this. This is the 5D Mark III, and it's a camera from, I believe, 2013 or 2012. And look, get a lens cap before I get all the dust in the sensor. And I'm going to be talking about why this camera is my favorite camera for sports photography, and street photography, and photography in general. I'll also be talking a bit about video, but overall, I use this as a photo camera first. And I'm going to be talking about why it's my favorite. Oh, and whatever you're wondering where these little clips are, it's for the Peak Design camera strap. This is actually one of the straps that I recommend to most people because it's actually really simple. You just grab the clip, slide the clip in place, lock it, and then you're good to go. They can support about 200 pounds of force, so even if you have a pretty heavy camera, like a 5D Mark III, it'll be able to support the weight. So let's get into it. The first reason is actually the build of the camera. So the camera itself, without a lens, I believe is like 950 grams. To put that in perspective, I think that's about 2 pounds. So I'm going to check with my Google right now, or I'm going to check with my Apple Watch so I don't trigger any of your smart devices. How much is 950 grams to pounds? It's a 2.09 pounds, so basically 2 pounds. And the features of it, it has dual card slots, but it also has a little bit of a microphone port and a headphone port, which makes it really good for video because I like to shoot short films sometimes, and it's really good. It has USB and HDMI out, not full HDMI. It's this one, I believe it's just micro or mini. The mini one on the Sony cameras absolutely suck. So it also has a remote in here and a flash sync port. The other side, it's a card slot, and as you see, I have my SD card in there. It supports about 90 megabytes a second for the SD card and 160 for CF. So I'm able to not only have a peace of mind when it comes to recording video on one of my cards. It doesn't do dual video recording. It does do dual photo readout to both of the cards, which I think is good because if you like to shoot RAW plus JPEG, that's an added feature. The ergonomics of it is nothing that really compares in the mirrorless world. You see my hand literally can grip the camera pretty well. And speaking of grip, I typically like using these battery grips because it allows me to not only have the features of dual batteries, but also allows me to shoot vertically, and that's kind of important as a sports photographer because it's a pain when I have to do this with a 70-200. It hurts. So having to do this, a little more comfortable, and I still have the dials and features of a battery grip. Also makes the camera feel more pro to me. Battery has a LPE6. I have an LPE6N battery in there currently. This is actually brand new, and pretty good battery life. About 1,000 shots. Video, probably up to an hour. I don't really know. I haven't tested the video limits. It has a screen on the back. It is not a touch screen, but it does have really big buttons that makes it easy to find everything, like your set button, your record start stop, and really comfortable buttons, and even a top illuminated display up here. Your mode wheel to the side. And the buttons, pretty good. But this is the main feature of the camera. Oh, you can see my big old forehead there. But the sensor is a 22.3 megapixel full frame sensor paired with some really good EF glass like the 24-70, 70-200, but my favorite, the 24-105 for that versatility. This has 61 autofocus points. To demonstrate that, that is how many? 61, 41 cross-type, so when you shoot vertically, you have 41 points active. And in live view, it doesn't do that servo AF that the newer Canon cameras do, but it has pretty good live view because it focuses relatively quickly. I believe it uses phase detect or something like that. I don't know. Whatever detect, it doesn't have really good autofocus. Speaking of video terms, it has video, but it shoots 1080p at 30 frames per second. No autofocus. That is a bummer, because another camera I own from basically the same time period shoots 720p at 30, and has autofocus, and is mildly cheaper than this. But by far the best part of this camera is the ease of use when it comes to the menus, because I'm showing you the menu right now, and you see the subcategories. There's basically 6 of them, but 5 are technically usable. You have your AF settings, which I find this is the best AF menu ever. Really easy to set your details and stuff. It's also really easy to change the case versatilities, because it's mainly targeted towards sports like the 1DX. They have the same exact autofocusing system, and you're able to have all these different cases. So say if someone's running, you want that to track them. Somebody's, I don't know, biking or something like that. It's really good for sports. Speaking of sports, it does do a 6 frames a second at pretty good buffer rates, actually. I believe it's like 10 or like 15 for the RAW with your SD card and CF card. But this is the 6 frames a second in high-speed continuous. The camera's kind of freaking out, so there we go. And in live view. And the silent shutter, which I think is really good because this is how silent it is. Like, that's a mild and huge difference, which allows me to take, of course, street photography. But also, it's actually really good for, like, plays and stuff like that. So, why do I think this is the best camera for beginners? So first off, this video is 6 minutes long already, and I can see it up here on both of my screens. The reason this is the best camera is because of the ease of use in the Canon menus and the ease of use of this camera. The buttons are huge, so it's great for a person with bigger hands than me. And it's also really great for somebody who just shoots photos. This isn't a super video orientated camera, but it does shoot 1080p, and I find that's more than enough because the quality out of the camera is a lot better than most smartphones from that time period. Nowadays we have 4K like 120 on a smartphone, which is insane. The iPhone 14 Pro does shoot 4K, but I don't really love using 4K because it takes a ton of space. And this video is already 7 minutes long, and there's a ton of 4K footage on here, so it's going to be a pain to edit. That's why the 1080p files of that camera shoots at about 200 megabytes per second, which makes it really good. I think not 200, maybe like 150. And the lens mount is also a big winner for me, because I buy cheap lenses. I don't have to spend money to spend on super expensive glass. So this 50mm 1.8 is the best lens I've ever purchased for this. So, that's about it for the camera. Really good build, really good set of lens mount, and the overall ease of use and the autofocus. That's what makes this camera good. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.